This is our time of meditation. So I take you back to Eric Butterworth and our recent home study. So, sitting easy in our seats, taking in the breath of life. We use our power of imagination, and we visualize the supportive universe. In this space, see yourself seated in a chair in a room in your home. Feel centered in oneness with the infinite. Remember, you don't have to go anywhere to find God. The wave does not go anywhere to find the ocean. It is the ocean in expression. God is present as a presence at all times and in all places. Snap your fingers and your home disappears and you're sitting on the ground. Snap your fingers and the earth disappears. Snap your fingers and the sun disappears. You are now out in space, surrounded with multitudes of pinpricks of light. Above you, beneath you, all around you, all sending their energies to you. Feel yourself centered in this universal energy of support. In the context of this metaphor, how do you pray to God? What is God? God is the allness of the universe, focused and centered as you. You are an individualization of the allness of God. You pray from the consciousness of that allness, which is rushing, streaming, and pouring into you from all sides while you stand quiet. Stay in that experience for just a moment. I am an individualization of the allness of all that is. I am presence in the silence. Now, let's return the way we came. Snap your fingers, and the sun reappears. Snap your fingers, and the earth reappears. your back, sitting on the ground with no buildings and no people. You snap your fingers, and your house reappears. And there you are, sitting in your chair. Before you let go of this metaphoric visualization, note well, you did not take a space flight out there. You did not go anywhere. You simply focused on the reality beyond appearances and experienced your true reality in oneness. A dynamic prayer power is yours if you remember to pray from this consciousness. As you're ready, start bringing yourself back to this time and space, back to this room, and open your eyes when you're ready. Wow, the energy this morning is just overpowering. And I know those folks at home on Zoom are feeling it too. And we are so grateful that you can be with us in imagination, if nothing else, in this time and space. I want to share with you the first talk I ever did in a Unity church was in Charlottesville, Virginia, on June the 13th, 1999, and the title was Faith. So today, we're talking about being hardwired in faith. You can't not have it because it is part of what you are. So on this first Sunday of Advent, thinking about hope and faith, I wanted to explore how this might apply to renewing or rebirthing Christ consciousness. First thing I did was I pulled out this book because I wanted to know, well, what's new? What's new in faith? You know, what's happened in the last 130 years? It's new thought for a new millennium. When I first picked it up, it's about the 12 powers for the 21st century. When I first picked it up 20 years ago, it did not speak to me. So I went to it again. And then the thought came, I need to look at how has faith changed for us in 130 years? How has it evolved as a divine principle in our collective understanding? Well, I took a deep dive into the history of the movement from someone who actually knew the Fillmores, James Dillard Freeman. He was at Unity Village for many years. He was our poet laureate. He was a prolific writer, a teacher. He was in Silent Unity, led that for some years. So he wrote this book, which I did not bring, The Story of Unity. That might be a good study for us one day. So most of us know the story of Myrtle's growing up with the belief that she had inherited TB and she was destined for a short life. Then she attended a lecture by E.B. Weeks. She heard this one sentence changed her life. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. That so spoke to her that she took herself home and she started studying and she started practicing. She started praying and meditating. Over a period of 2 years, she deepened her relationship with Spirit, grew in faith, and was healed. Well, Charles thought, what's Myrtle got going on? So he became interested. He started to study. He started to practice. He started to pray, meditate. But Charles was the intellectual of that couple. He read, studied, practiced prayer and meditation, which he called silence. And he also experienced physical healing. So they knew they were on to something. Freeman says, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore followed the visionary dream. They were pioneers of mind and spirit. They were never bound by limited conceptions about life, but were always striking out into the new. They were questioning what they had grown up learning as truth. They were looking for their truth. So they were people of courage to step out on faith. Judge not according to appearances, said Jesus, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore took him at his word. Appearances might say, you cannot do it, but Charles and Myrtle Fillmore did not believe in appearances. If you need something, said Mr. Fillmore, go ahead and get it. Do something about it. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were a man and woman of faith. In the word faith is summed up the story of their life and works and the story of unity. They did their works through faith. They soared beyond their works through faith. They were teachers through faith. They were healers through faith. They were builders through faith. And they were overcomers through faith. Many, many times in the history of unity, they came into a place where it seemed they could not go on, and yet they went on through faith. There's a famous story of a time when there were bills to pay, and they were counting pennies, and they were just holding their breath, and one of the staff said, "Oh, we better hope these pennies hold out." And Myrtle said, "No, we better hope our faith holds out." So what was the Fillmore contribution to this movement? First, they set the bar through their study, their practices, and their results. Charles, diving into metaphysical spirituality, defined faith. He used the better part of 4 pages in the revealing word, discussing no less than 12 aspects of faith. For our purposes, let's keep it simple. Faith is the perceiving power of the mind linked with the power to shape substance, spiritual substance. It is our ability to envision and just pull out of the ethers what we need to form, to manifest that which we desire. Of hope, he says, hope is the expectation of good in the future. It is a quality, good as far as it goes, of sense mind because it is subject to time. Hope is relative, and we know what happens in the relative world. It's always subject to change. It comes, it goes, it morphs. Faith, on the other hand, is the certain knowledge that our good is ours right now. It is of God. It is principle. It is absolute. It is unchanging. It goes beyond time and space. I see hope as the spark of an idea. I'll get there in just a second. Here it is. Because this was so cool for me, because the thing in the New Thought book was about the fire of hope, of faith. So Hope is the spark of an idea, and faith is the fire that fuels the manifestation. It finally came out. For instance, I once thought I wanted this little red Mitsubishi sports car. I, at the time, was participating in a prosperity class, Eileen. And so I had gotten pictures, and I put them up where I could see them. I had my affirmations. I visioned myself in that car. I could feel it. I could feel it rolling on. I lived in the mountains at the time. I could feel it going around those curves, all that cool stuff. And so what manifested for me after a while was a red Pontiac Sunbird, which actually fit my lifestyle much better. It had drop-down back seats, and that accommodated an IV pole because I was a home health nurse and I had to carry IVs with me. So faith delivered a better result than I could see. So Charles was a seeker. He gave us definitions and insights and set the example of practices, as did Myrtle. Myrtle was our great example of how prayer works. She developed a deep, deep understanding of relationship and faith in spirit and taught us by example. Myrtle lived faith. Myrtle taught that in prayer we see with the eyes of faith, commune with God mind within our own consciousness. That so resonates with what Reverend Linda Martella Whitsett is teaching now about prayer. My prayer, for whatever reason, whether it's for myself or for another, originates through my relationship with the God of my understanding, through my own consciousness. Therefore, it is my prayer. And I speak it from my I am consciousness. At least I'm growing in that practice. It's new for me. Freeman tells a story of one of Myrtle's responses to a request for prayer. This petitioner was asking for prayer for her brother. Apparently, she had an idea of the outcome she wanted to see for her brother. She thought her brother should ... Okay? Myrtle says, "You aren't really giving Spirit much credit for ability to work in your brother's consciousness and affairs, are you? We are asking you to place him confidently in the care and keeping of his own indwelling Lord, and to take your mental hands off. See with the eyes of faith." The Fillmores have laid the groundwork for the Unity movement, and James Dillett Freeman has recorded it. Moving forward, 50, 60 years, we encounter Eric Butterworth, who we experienced in meditation this morning. He was a major Unity teacher in the mid to late 20th century. I listened to one of his lectures titled Faith Healing versus Healing Faith. He described faith healing as it's non-medical, it's coming from outside, and it's something done on or to the patient. It's an outside job. On the other hand, healing faith is a level of consciousness where we take responsibility for our own life. That is one of the core teachings that I get in Unity. I am responsible, and I have the power, the willpower of choice to choose how my life manifests. Sometimes I choose something I kind of change my mind about. And that's okay, because I can choose again, and I can make a better choice. So healing flows from within. Your faith makes you whole. He talked in this lecture about the importance of our belief system in regard to healing. Belief represents the unique element of human beings that makes it possible for the human mind to affect the workings of the body. Kind of a run-on sentence, but I think you get it. Through our belief, we can, in fact, alter how our physical self shows up. All healing begins with our belief system engaged through faith. Butterworth served the movement through his teaching. He helped us to deepen and expand our understanding, and he did it in the language of his day. When you read Fillmore, that's kind of hard for me to read because he speaks, and he wrote a lot, in a more Victorian language. Butterworth speaks my language. We're talking 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm good with that. And that's one of the things that we find in our movement. Now let's take a look at the 21st century and see what Reverend Paul Hasselbeck has to say. Paul has spent the large part of his ministry going through the archives, going through all of the Fillmore writings he could get his hands on, because Fillmore believed, I have the right to change my mind. As he's learning, he's always questioning what's coming up. You know, what can I get from this? How do I see that? How do I deepen my relationship with my God? So he changes things around, and it's hard to follow him. So what Paul did was in 2019, he pulled together a lot of Fillmore's teachings, and he's written use the truth you know. Use the truth you know. Unities, principles, and premises. So he's pulled all those laws and those premises and universal ideas together. And here are some of the things he had to say. It's too much. I wanted to kind of read the book to you. In this book, Paul, with the help of his friends in ministry, brings clarity to those concepts and translates Fillmore to 21st century language. He pulls some of those confusing things together. Just briefly, faith is our power to be confident, to have conviction. It is a power, it's a principle, it's a divine idea. It is absolute and unchanging. So faith has not changed in 130 years. How do we develop it? How do we use it? First of all, we release and let go our power of elimination of all those thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images related to doubt and fear. I love what Linda Marcella-Whitsett has done with this. This is what we teach in Unity is denial. All of these things, these doubts, these ideas that do not serve us have no power over us. I like the way Linda Marcella-Whitsett has changed it to negation. We negate that. And then we affirm. We affirm claiming the divine idea. And faith, Paul says faith is one of at least two powers or principles underlying the use of affirmations. So our affirmations are powered by faith and the power of life. Life is the power that enlivens, invigorates. So that's a starting point on how we use our power of faith. So you've just been listening to me for a few minutes about this. And one thing that I got from this as I was going through all of these different resources is The guy who wrote Ecclesiastes was right. In Ecclesiastes 1:9, there is no new thing under the sun. Principle does not change. So what is different? What is different in 130 years of the Unity movement? This chapter, The Fire of Faith, written by Rosemary Ellen Guiley, I think, starts, this sentence really kind of says it all. In every age, our perception of the qualities of faith changes in accordance with the times. Our perception changes. Our understanding changes. And this is how it happens. We come together. When we come together in spiritual community, we create a synergistic effect in which the group consciousness becomes more than the sum of the individual parts. I love that, and is that not true? That's why we're here. And I'm going to close with this final statement that she titles Mastery of Life. Faith in the new era is a faith of mastery. Through faith, we rise above the ordinary and become masters of our lives. We know we are the living embodiments of God. Bolstered by the spiritual fires of community, we are empowered to reach any goals. Be a master of life. Believe now that the Creator endowed you with miracle-making abilities. Believe now that you are filled with the radiance of transcendent love. Believe now that your spiritual lamp shines on the path ahead, illuminating a universe, unlimited potential. Go forward. Faith will be your unerring guide. So, go forth, birthing a new consciousness in faith for a new 2024. And I'm thinking, and more. Thank you. We can praise. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. It was so sweet. Now is our time in the service when we gather together our gifts to this ministry, and whether you're in person and are giving with a check or something, or if you have given through PayPal or Breeze, we're very, very grateful, and we thank you and all of you folks on Zoom as well. Let's say our blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, that this is so.